So I'm making homemade pumpkin pie, and I wasn't going to make a video about this, but I just experienced something that nobody warned me about. This pan doesn't have any edges on it, so as it was baking for 45 minutes at 400 degrees, all of the water ran out of it and is now in the bottom of my oven. So when you're making homemade from scratch pumpkin pie at home, make sure you have a pan that has an edge on it, or maybe put it in a glass dish. And yeah, since I'm saying this, I'm just going to go ahead and make this into a video, and my cat's meowing at me. But this is the beginning of me making homemade pumpkin pie from scratch for the very first time. And I have made pie a couple of times. I am not a baker, I am not a chef by any means. I don't hardly ever cook anything, ever. So I'm just making this pie for the heck of it, because we had pumpkins in the garden this year and I want to use them for pie. So according to the videos I watched, the skin should just peel right off of this and separate from the part that I need. The chickens would probably love to eat these skins. It's hard to do this with one hand. Once again, I'm not using a tripod. This was not a planned video, so this here bubbled up. That's weird. It smells really good. Look at all that water. Ooh, I gotta clean that up. This guy collapsed on me. This guy doesn't feel like it's done. I did take it out of the oven about 6 minutes early. It should have been in there for 45 minutes, but I took it out early because there was water all over my oven. And it sounded like one of them exploded, which kind of freaked me out. Ooh, this one's coming right off. Would you look at that? Just came right off of there. So I'm going to finish peeling these and I'm going to stick them in the blender thingy. I actually bought a really expensive and fancy blender specifically for making this pie, but it's big and I don't have room for it, and I've never gotten it out of the box yet. I don't feel like reading instructions or anything. So I'm just going to use the little NutriBullet thingy, the smoothie maker, in small portions, and then I will go ahead and blend it up that way. Let's go see if the chickens want a little snack. Hey chickies! Look, I still have a pumpkin on the vine. That one's still a little green. I got one over here too, little baby. You guys want some pumpkin? Do you guys want some pumpkins? That's lavender and Junebug and Alfredo and shrimp. Here you go. You guys don't get cooked food very often, huh? You like it? They probably like the seeds and the raw guts more than they like the cooked parts, but they'll enjoy it. Of course, I saved some for the chickens at the barn as well. Having chickens at home is definitely good because they eat all the scraps, like bad watermelon and pumpkin pie scraps. So I'll also probably keep some of these seeds to plant next year, possibly. And maybe I'll roast some too. I don't usually roast them, but I know my daughter would probably like it. So still got lots of scraps for the other chickens as well. And here's my pumpkin mush. Probably way more than I need. I think I only need 2 cups or about a pound of pumpkin puree for a pie, I think. So I'm going to puree this, measure out 2 cups, and then the rest I'll probably freeze. I think this stuff freezes okay. I don't know. I am not Martha Stewart. I don't know these things. Okay, I have my little blender thingy filled to the max line. Obviously I have a lot left. I'm going to have to do this in batches because I'm not using a full-size food processor or blender. I'm just using this little smoothie maker. It is the NutriBullet. Oh, it's loud. This looks like the right consistency, right? I mean, it looks like baby food, and I think that's what I'm supposed to be going for. This machine's not great for this. I know it's a smoothie maker, and I don't think it's supposed to be a pureer. I could be wrong about that. I have no idea. But the pumpkin gets stuck up at the top, and then the blades can't get to it, and then I gotta like scrape it down the sides, and so I don't recommend a NutriBullet for this particular usage. And yeah, I still have a whole bowl full over here. I'm gonna have so many dishes by the end of this. I'm like running out of bowls. I have a bowl full of goulash that I just made yesterday, and that's my good big bowl, so hopefully this bowl will be big enough. Round 2 looks a little bit smoother than round 1, and now I'm on to the final mixing round. This is looking really watery, so I have a strainer with a really old coffee filter over a pot. I don't use coffee filters, and I think I bought these for like a craft a long time ago, like when my kid was a toddler. She's 11 now, so that just tells you how old this coffee filter is. So I'm going to throw this in there. Let's see if I can do it one-handed or if I'm going to make a mess. Let's see if I can do it. And ignore my messy kitchen. I wasn't planning on filming, so I didn't clean it. Oh yeah, there's so much water in this. Okay, I think I should do this maybe half at a time. And it's kind of dripping. I'm going to stir this around a little bit maybe, and then do the other half. I definitely think I have enough here for one pie. I'm not sure if I have enough to save and freeze. So it's a good thing I did all 3 of those pumpkins. I let this sit for about 10-15 minutes, and that is a lot of water dripping out of there. And it's still dripping, so I'm going to wait a little longer. I wonder if the coffee filter is necessary. It's kind of sticking to it, and I'm afraid that the coffee filter is going to tear when I'm trying to get this out of here. So I'm going to try the second batch without the coffee filter and see how that works. Also, everything online is saying that canned pumpkin is better than fresh pumpkin when you're making pie, and that fresh pumpkin is good for savory dishes. So I think I'm going to have to tweak my recipe a little bit, which isn't really a recipe because I don't really follow recipes. I just kind of throw stuff together and call it good. So this is going to turn out kind of interesting. Round 2 of draining it. Here's my liquid. And I think I'm going to re-puree it just to make sure it's really smooth. And then I'm going to re-drain it with the coffee filter. I think the coffee filter really helped. This is quite the process. I've started doing this about 3 hours ago. So yeah, if you plan to do this, make sure you got all day to do it. Thankfully, I have nothing else to do today, so this is what I'm doing. Here's the liquid from round 2. I actually squeezed this out, so this is probably, I'd say, about half of a cup, so probably a full cup altogether. Cheesecloth is highly recommended for this. These coffee filters did not do that great of a job. This is what I'm left with. Now I'm a little concerned that I don't have enough for this pie, so I'm going to, I guess, start mixing up the egg and the other ingredients. I'll be right back to show you what that's like. I have 2 cups of pumpkin puree. I don't have any left over to freeze, so I had just barely enough to use, and I have none to freeze. I have organic sweetened condensed milk. They were out of any other kind of condensed milk, so I got this expensive organic one, not because I need organic stuff, but because that's all the store had to offer. And since this is sweetened condensed milk, I'm not going to add a bunch of sugar. I will be adding some Truvia, which is a natural sugar substitute. I'm not a huge fan of the flavor of this, so I won't be using too much of it, and I might even put in some regular sugar mixed in with it. And then 2 eggs. And then some pumpkin pie spice. This stuff is hard to find. There is like a shortage of pumpkin pie stuff in the stores. Like, it's a thing. Look it up. I saw it on Google. There's like a canned pumpkin shortage going on this year. But I can't find any measuring spoons because I used them all and I haven't washed any of them. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. And I am supposed to use this whole can, and it's going to make this very watery, but that's what it's supposed to be like. Not all recipes call for this. Sometimes you have to mix heavy cream with half and half or some kind of milk, but I decided to use this. I feel like it will give me a lot better flavor. Well, there we go. And I'll add the eggs in while I'm at it. These are unfortunately store eggs. I don't have any eggs from my chickens right now, so these are from the store, which is a bummer, but it is fall and chickens molt in the fall, and when they molt, they shed all their feathers, and then, oh, this is going to end up with shells in it, but they stop laying eggs when they molt, because it takes up all of their energy and nutrients and stuff to regrow feathers, so they don't make eggs during the fall. Okay, I'm going to add in my spice. I have pumpkin guts all over my camera. This is going to be so fun to clean up. Now, all the recipes call for a couple teaspoons of pumpkin spice, but I think I want to go a little overboard and do maybe like a tablespoon of pumpkin spice. Would that be too much? No idea. I have no idea, and I should have used a bigger bowl. Alright, I'm going to stir this up. I can't do this one-handed. I added more of the spice, and then I also added more of the sugar, and I already made a mistake. I was supposed to beat the eggs before incorporating them, and this is kind of hard to stir up. I do have a stick blender, I just really don't want to use it because that's more things I have to wash, and I already have a ton of dishes to do. This is a dishes heavy experiment, I guess you would call it. So I'm just going to stir this up really good. I don't think I have a whisk. A whisk would be helpful right now too. But it's supposed to be watery and liquidy. I think I'm going to add a little cornstarch to it. Just to make sure it does thicken up. I do not want soggy crust. I do not want a loose pie.
How did I say that without saying that's what she said?
So I'm going to mix some cornstarch in it, and then I'm going to put it into my crust. I also added a little bit of salt and just a tiny little bit of pepper. I know that sounds weird, but I read on one of the thousands of recipes I looked up that a little pinch of pepper is really good in this pie. Now this looks and smells correct, like I actually might have done something right. And if this pie ends up being delicious, my husband is so going to kick my butt for not writing down the recipe. But that's just how I cook. I just throw everything in by smell, by taste, by visual. I don't measure anything. And I think the reason for that is that I never have any clean measuring tools. I'm actually ready to pour this into the pie crust. And another little slight mistake, well, possible mistake, is I did not sift the cornstarch. And it might be a little clumpy, and that doesn't taste good if it's like that. So I'll let you know when I try it if I can detect any of the cornstarch or not. Okay. So roasting the pumpkin got all those pumpkin juices all over the bottom of my oven. So I had to clean it out before I even decided to preheat the oven. I don't normally preheat the oven, but since this is a very liquidy pie, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And a little trick for you, you can put couple sheets of aluminum foil underneath your heating element. The heating element just lifts up. Make sure it is not hot when you do that. And then you can place the foil, and that way if anything spills in your oven, you can just take the foil out and not have to clean your whole oven. My husband taught me that little trick when I first moved in with him. And up top we have a graham cracker pie crust. This is from Keebler. And I absolutely hate pie crust, so I prefer graham cracker crusts. It is not recommended for this kind of pie. It will probably get soggy, and I'm aware of this, but I just can't do regular pie crust. It's disgusting. And this is actually a little bit bigger of a pie crust, so there's 2 extra servings, which means my batter is probably not going to fill this all the way. Had this been a normal pie crust, it would have been fine, but the instructions here call for 2.5 cups of canned pumpkin for whatever this is. So let's just hope that it's not going to be a disaster. Hey, looky there, it all fits in there pretty much perfectly. It's very jiggly, as you can see, and I think this is the correct consistency. I think this is correct. The color looks a little bit pale to me, but it is fresh pumpkin, so that shouldn't be too surprising. I'm going to quickly look up how long to cook and what temperature, and then I'll be back when it's ready. Pie time! Alright, just took this beauty out of the oven. Looks good. It has a little bit of a jiggle still in the middle. That's what you want. And I think it's perfect. I am worried it's too sweet. I did taste the raw batter. I don't recommend doing that. There is raw egg in this. But I did test the raw batter and it tasted really sweet and really spicy. So I think I overdid it on both of those. But I'd rather have a pie with too much flavor than not enough flavor. So this has to set up for at least an hour before you can cut into it. And I'm not going to cut into it until everybody gets home, so probably not until 6 or 7 o'clock tonight. So this was like a 4-hour process. I started doing this around 9 or 10 in the morning. It is now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, there you go. I made pumpkin pie and I filmed it, and it tastes really good. There is a little bit too much of the stevia sweetener in it. I can taste it, but it's not bad. It tastes like pumpkin pie. As I was cutting it, I'm like, this is cutting way too perfectly. The texture is way too perfect. This is going to taste like dirt because this is just way too perfect, and there is no freaking way that I nailed it on the first try. But it's really good. I just had my second piece today. It is the next day. And it had kind of a weird aftertaste, kind of like a stale aftertaste. I wonder if I was supposed to put it in the refrigerator overnight or maybe cover it a little more tightly. But yeah, I am so impressed with myself. I've done so much home cooking this year, probably thanks to COVID. I canned pickles for the first time. I made pasta sauce from my own garden tomatoes. It's not the first time I've done that, but still, it takes all day just like the pumpkin pie did. I'm really impressed with the results, and I'm going to have to eyeball my measurements in this video so I can write down the recipe. My husband was definitely mad that I didn't do that. I just don't measure things. This is not how I cook. But thanks for watching. I hope you learned something about making pumpkin pie, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!